the hospital take returns?
Welcome, guys. How is everyone doing? Getting things set up, and we will be right back and over. All right, and we are over and in. Check, Pablo. Say something for us. See if we got that mic working. All right, we'll retry the mic one more time again.
Oh shit, I was muted. Hi.
You are all good. What is up, guys? So, welcome to episode 2 of the late evening show with Pablo and DK. I am DK, and then over here we have.
I am Pablo. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So today we are doing episode 2. Later in the show, we will be having our first guest appearance today. Our good friend Chzzy Fryz will be coming in. And then, so to open up the show, I think we're going to dive into a little bit about our history of music and what we lately have been listening to.
Yeah. We
So
started?
yeah, I played music. I started back in like 5th grade. I started playing trombone first, and then I went over and I started playing tuba in the high school area. And then I also I did jazz band and stuff throughout high school. So like I played bass guitar for like pep bands and things like that. And then I switched over and played bass trombone in jazz band.
Cool. So
Yeah.
myself, I started like around the same time when I was like probably like 8 with bass.
Mm.
Just because I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that was
Then
the
I
same
started
reason I
learning
went into
guitar.
trombone.
And it's been guitar has been the one that I've like invested the most time into. And it's like the only one I consider myself to be like actually good at.
Yeah.
And I also play piano, drums, ukulele,
Okay. So like you can read sheet music,
all in guitar
only guitar
and
sheet music. So that's treble
and
clef, right?
ukulele. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's
And
what's
ukulele.
interesting.
But ukulele is way more. It's super basic.
Yeah, I have a harder time with like treble clef instruments nowadays, just because I started in bass clef with trombone, which like allows me like I can read bass music really easy, but I switch over to trombone, and because everything switches, I have a much harder time nowadays trying to relearn treble clef than I do like bass clef comes right back to me.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely like stopped playing. I used to like take lessons like every week, and I used to play a lot. But I haven't played in a while. Maybe since middle school, I haven't played a lot.
Okay, yeah. I ended up quitting out my junior year of high school is when I stopped band, like going into my senior year. But I played all throughout there, and then like since high school, I pick up and I'll play instruments every now and then. Normally, like when I go visit a friend and they have something I know how to play, I'll pick it
Oh
up and
yeah,
have fun.
that's
But
the same.
yeah, but like I'm like one of those really big people. Like I believe if somebody once you understand like how to read sheet music and how notes translate, I feel like once you can learn keys and everything, it's really easy to just kind of pick up any instrument and go. Once you have like the core fundamentals down.
Oh yeah, it's rather easy. Like pick. It's one of those things. It's easy to pick up. Like any instrument, you can learn basics pretty like
Yeah.
easily. It's like mastering, but takes like a
Yeah.
while, a fucking while.
And see, like my big thing is like, because I hear like when I see, especially like with guitar, I see this most prevalently in guitar. Like when new people come in to learn how to play guitar, they always go to like tabs and they go to things like that where they know what note to hit when, but then at the same time they don't know what that note actually is and where like how to read. And like especially for people like just getting into music, I always highly recommend learning how to read sheet music.
Oh,
Because like
definitely. I actually started with tabs, and I think that like slowed me a lot.
mm-hmm,
At the beginning of like till actually surprisingly recent, I only knew how to play tabs.
mm-hmm,
Like I recently like picked up the guitar again, so I've been playing with that, and I've been learning like
yeah.
to play shit with that
And
because yeah,
see,
tabs look like easy to play, but like you can never like know extra. You just know how to play things.
yeah, it's tabs are really good for if you're just trying to like perfectly copy something that already exists.
Yeah, just like play something like a song that already exists that you just like play it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. See, and like I always recommend going into sheet music because the fun thing is once you learn sheet music, especially once you get your scales down, because the beauty of scales is that once you know what key a song is in, if you know the scale to it, any one of those notes in that scale can fit into that song and not sound wrong. And so
Oh,
it
yeah,
makes it so
that
when you're
that's like the core
improvising,
of
it's so
jazz
much
and
easier.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, I
improvising is
definitely.
like what no good. You notice good people because they can improvise.
Mhm. And it's one of those things that even like when I first started improving in high school, which was through jazz band, I remember I would always get so like caught up because I would be playing the same things over and over. And like I would get one really cool thing I had stuck in my head and I would play that. But it's like once I go into solo, I would play that and then I wouldn't know where else to go then. And those two, like especially because like when we had contest, most of us when we had a solo and contest, you would have to write it out first, and our director would help you go over it. That way, you had like a roadmap, like a rough sketch of what to do. But if you ever fell out, you could just improv your way because you knew the scales and you knew those extra
Yeah,
notes.
that makes sense. I definitely don't know how to improvise, but I've been like trying to learn.
Yeah, it's definitely like especially improving. Improving was so difficult for me to first start. Um, but like because especially I started in bass. So I'm normally the
Yeah,
person like I'm laying the simple melodies that you're going over. And the hard thing with bass is it gets really awkward sometimes, especially if you're on bass guitar trying to solo, is because you don't normally have an accompaniment to it. Because normally you'll have like the drums and you'll have like the bass and then you solo over that. But by taking the bass
yeah.
away,
The
it gets
bass like
really
hard.
difficult.
It must be super hard to improvise because it's like the base of the music.
And like honestly, that's why I think guys like Davey 504, and then there's like Charles Bartholomew. They play on YouTube a bunch, and like
Oh
dude,
yeah,
like
I love Davey.
yeah, and it's like once you see those guys, a lot of those guys, like the Do is another one of those perfect experience like guys on why I'm like, oh, you learn like sheet music first. Because like the Do is so good because he can just listen to a song and in his mind he's like practiced himself so much over time to where he can pick out every note and he knows what the note is. So it's like reading a language but like by listening for him.
Oh yeah, it's like people say that you get like extra IQ points if you know how to read music. Like
Yeah.
a deliberate amount of extra IQ points and an extra fold in your. I read that.
See that's cool. Actually, I didn't know that because like I've never taken like a formal IQ test or anything like that. So like I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
me
what
neither.
goes into them, but like that is something that like I wonder if like chess goes into that too, like memory. Because like I was watching a
I
thing.
think it does, especially if you're like good at it. It mostly, pretty sure it should at
Yeah,
least.
because like earlier today I was watching this funny video and it was these two guys. They're like lower elo players, so they're not the best yet, but they were playing a match against each other blindfolded. And like it was so funny because you can definitely tell the difference in intelligence levels between people just on the way their photographic memory works and the way they can see these things when they're going. Because it's funny because like halfway through the game, you have one guy who's like, I have officially forgotten where most of my pieces are. And the other guy's just on top of everything and knows like where every
Yeah.
single piece is. And it's like those are those IQ things that I'm just like, huh, that's interesting. But like I like how music is along with that too, because I do think being able to listen to a song and be able to like if I because like there was a point I don't think I could do it anymore, but like at my peak in high school, I could listen to a song and then write it on like sheet music. Like I
Oh
could
yeah, you
write
could
out
do
the
that.
song. Yeah, I
Oh,
used to
that's
be able
awesome.
to transpose and stuff. And
By the way,
it's
talking
just
about
how
that, have you ever heard this like idea that Russian chess masters were like fucking idiots? because the only thing they knew how to do was play chess, right?
Yeah,
So they actually like were morons. You could ask them about literally anything and they wouldn't answer. But if you would ask them about chess, they would be
they just
geniuses.
yeah, and those are the great. So a lot of like people that are at the level of like grandmaster level, those are a lot like of those guys where they're like they've dove so deeply in, and like they specifically train memory because like Hikaru, which is like one of the best chess players out there,
Yeah,
he was like he's talked about before how he had to train his memory so much over time, but now he can like with his eyes closed blindfolded he can completely visualize the board, and that allows him to be able to play 15 games at once, and he'll be able to remember every move from each individual game. Just
yeah, and that's amazing.
but
That's
it's
honestly like very awesome.
yeah, and I laugh though because it's very much one of those like jack of all trades, master of none is still better than a master of one. Because it's like
Yeah,
he's so hyper trained into that, but I'm like, you put him in a lot of different fields trying to do different things, and his brain's just not going to correlate the same way.
yeah, yeah. And they like eventually like these dudes, these like Soviet chess players, they used to like dedicate their whole lives to chess.
Yeah,
Like those motherfuckers would start playing like at 5 years old, and
yeah,
they
and like
wouldn't do shit instead of that.
that's my thing is I couldn't imagine playing only chess because like I started playing chess when I was really young against my grandpa, but like and then like I played in chess tournaments during like elementary school and stuff, but I kind of fell out of it later on, and like I've gotten back into it recently just because of like online chess and everything, but
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Same.
yeah, dude, it's very much. I could not imagine like only focusing on chess though. But like I know how people do it because there are so many different kinds of gambits, different kind of move settings and situations that you can read into just to plan for to know how to set up. But it's like a lot of that stuff. I'm like, you're researching something for a 1 in a 10,000 chance of ever happening, or a 1 in 100,000 chance of ever happening. So I'm like at some point I feel like that research is just like wasted energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like if it doesn't pan out, it's like completely wasted energy.
True. Yeah. But I guess that's also one of those things. It's better to be prepared, like over prepared than under prepared in those
Yeah, yeah,
situations.
yeah,
But like I'm a person, I believe we only have like X amount of brain space. So it's like if you're just cramming it full of nothing but chess, it's like what are you sacrificing?
yeah. And it's I think it was a study. The Soviet Union did a study, and like those people had only chess in their mind. They didn't know anything else.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So
like
you
those
would talk to them and think like, "Oh my god, this guy is an idiot," but then he would be like the greatest chess player in the world.
yeah, and I'm always intrigued by the people that like can bring chess into their day-to-day life too. Like because that's those are the ones where I'm like if you can take that knowledge you already have and use that to benefit in different fields of your life, then power to you. But like what I see is a lot of those guys get so hyper tunneled into it that they end up losing the ability to like translate that knowledge just like someone who doesn't know anymore. So like for the average person who like knows a generalistic amount about chess, someone who's like hyper vigilant into like a grandmaster level wouldn't be able to communicate anything across to that person anymore.
Yeah, you can only talk about it with other grandmasters.
Yeah, other people that understand it because once you get deep into it, there's so many things where it's like you're almost creating your own different type of language. Where it's like to the average person, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
It's like
I think
Rubik's
that translates
cubes.
a lot to music actually.
Hmm. And yeah, and that's the other thing is like music's one of those things too, where it's like you can translate something without like on its own platform, like its own level. Because it's like with music, especially like we could not like speak the same language, right? You and I,
Yeah,
we might not be able to speak verbally, but if we know the same scales, we can pick up instruments and play together instantly.
yeah,
Because
because
like
it's a universal language.
yeah, it is. It is one of those universals, and like I think chess is like that a lot too because it's so mathematical, and math is another one of those like universal languages things that we
Oh
have.
yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool how those types of things work out, and like especially like with music, especially I like how many different variants you can have because there are so many different branches, like when you get into pop, rock, all those types of things, but they use the same core fundamentals to translate different emotions
Yeah,
on
you
like
just play like
complex levels.
section. You just change like the way you like use kind of tones and shit. But
Mm,
it changes like there are whole different genres. Like there's no way you can hear pop and hyper pop and think, oh yeah, this is the same shit.
hmm And see, like, I
But
think it's
it's
crazy
still like
too.
the same basis.
Yeah, and like the fun thing too is because like that's why I'm really big fascinated on with like covers, like when people do covers of other songs, especially when it's
Oh
like a
yeah,
genre mash cover. So like a really popular one is like if you listen to No Diggity, it used to be like a more like rapish like hip hop style song, and then Chet Faker does an acoustic cover of it, and it's
yeah.
saying the exact same words, but the translation like with the style of music behind it just
So by the way,
completely
caution.
changes
That's
the
the
overtone.
genius thing. Caution Chad just said like the most genius thing I've ever heard in my life. But like talking about that, have you ever heard like Johnny Cash's "Hurt"? Like Johnny Cash cover of "Hurt." Like the whole song has a widely different meaning coming from him, and it's literally the same song. And he just like changes the
Oh,
whole because he did it when he was sick and he was like dying.
yeah.
So it's like a whole thing about how the whole meaning of "Hurt" just changes because how Johnny Cash did it and when Johnny Cash did it.
Yeah, and like and that's another thing too is timing. Like
Yeah.
when especially because I feel like that power can change especially after a death because of how much emotion gets flooded into
Oh,
it.
exactly. Have you
Mm.
heard like David Bowie's last album,
Which one? The last
Black
album?
Star?
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Star. Black Star is all about like David Bowie contemplating his own death, right? And
hmm
he dropped it and died 3 days later.
And see, that's one of those things that I'm almost like, is that like a? Because I don't remember. Was David Bowie when how did he
Yeah,
pass?
he had cancer. He had cancer, I think.
Yeah. So it was one of
I'm a
those things
huge
like,
Bowie fan.
see,
So,
my difference with death though is I feel like sometimes like we hold on to life when we're like, especially like in like those cancer times too, that
oh
sometimes like
yeah,
especially if like you've had it for a long time and you're fighting it for a long time, the way it wears you down, especially on something like that. Like I feel like being able like an album like that, especially because you know it's that this is your end at that point because there
and you
does
know
come
it's
a
coming.
point. Yeah,
The
like
whole
it.
the whole album is about him thinking, I know I'm gonna die. I've accepted I'm gonna die. I'm cool with it.
Mm,
He's like coming with to grips with him dying, and it's an amazing album. It's fucking brilliant and beautiful.
yeah.
But it grabs so much power because imagine if he dropped it and died like 3 years later. It's still
Mm,
like a good album, but the fact that he died 3 days later after like dropping a whole album about his own death, that just
mm.
gave him so much power.
It does. And that's the other thing. And that's something about music too, is that like we can listen to that years upon years later and still feel that same thing he was feeling in the moment, the way it
Yeah,
translates those
exactly.
emotions over.
You can think this man was dying, and this man
Mm,
knew he was dying, and you can hear it in the music. It's
yeah.
super melancholic.
Yeah. And that's just like, it's so fascinating because music, it's on its own unique like level of that, in my
Yeah.
opinion, at least. Because I'm like, there's not too many things out there that can match that.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you can get so many emotions from like nothing.
Hmm
I'm just like hearing something. You don't
Yeah.
even understand it. Like I love Japanese music, like rap. Japanese
hmm
rap is amazing, and you get like why they're even like talking about without actually understanding it.
Yeah, you can. That's another thing too, is it can be in a completely different like language, but even if you don't understand the words that are being said, you can understand the emotion conveying it across.
Yeah, you understand
And
how they're saying it.
mhm, yeah, that's why. Because like I've like lately, especially like I've been listening to an artist, D Smoke. I'll have to send you some of his stuff though, because so he raps in English and in Spanish, and like
Oh
we've talked
yeah,
about, I don't understand Spanish, but it's
yeah,
so cool to me still. Like I can still listen to it and like appreciate it because the way he flows in between the English and Spanish allows me to at least think about what he could be saying, And it's one of those things like you can almost understand a completely different language that you're listening to without actually understanding the words themselves.
Just because of the inflection or the
Mm-hmm.
way they say it. Like I've been fascinated with like music from around the world my whole life. Whenever I meet someone from other country, I just tell them, "Send me music.
Mm-hmm.
Send me music in your native language." So I have like a couple of playlists, especially in Italian because I have a lot of Italian friends.
Oh,
And
that's
Italian
cool.
music is amazing, but you can understand what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it. If there's
See,
you can understand whether like if they're sad or shit, and you don't even understand a word of it. It's amazing.
mm-hmm. And I feel like that's honestly something. A lot of stuff like that too. I feel like is why K-pop is blowing up the way it does. Because with a lot of K-pop stuff, it's like you might not understand exactly what they're saying, but because of the choreography and the emotion and everything they're like portraying across, you can still get like almost a bigger appreciation for it.
Oh yeah, and it's like super amazingly produced. Everything
Yeah,
K-pop does is like very well done.
yeah,
Like it or not, it's like amazingly done. Actually, I've been the artist I discovered this week. Do you know Psy, right? The guy from Gangnam Style. Have you
yeah.
heard to his early albums? His early albums are brilliant.
I don't honestly think I've actually looked back at any of his stuff before. Like
Oh,
Gangnam
me
Style, I think is
neither.
the only thing I know.
And I follow like a couple of music pages on Instagram, and they were all talking about it, and it's
Mm.
amazing. Like honestly, it's brilliant.
See,
Like
that's
the
so
the man was
cool.
using autotune is like 2002.
See, and if we're bringing up auto tune real quick, I'm still will forever be curious on why T Pain uses auto tune. Because like I've heard some of the stuff that T Pain does without auto tune, and that man can
Oh, he has the
sing.
voice of an angel. But yeah, but you know, I actually think he uses the same way Kanye uses because Kanye didn't used to use autotune to like 808s and Heartbreak, right?
Yeah,
Because I know everything about Kanye.
yeah.
I'm crazy about
Heartbreak
Kanye.
is one of my favorite. And to be fair, I still think Runaway is one of the
Oh
best.
yeah,
Like as an
it's my
overall
favorite
like
song
an
of all
official
time.
music video, like as a music video too. Like Phil, that is a whole production is just
Oh yeah,
unmatched.
uh, the
Like,
whole movie is amazing.
mm,
But
but
okay, so Kanye uses autotune in 808 and Heartbreak to like dehumanize himself,
mm,
to make himself seem like another person. Like Kanye isn't talking, some other guy is talking, right?
yeah.
So I like to think that T-Pain does the same, just like to separate himself from music, to like
Mm.
make it in a way more relatable.
That makes sense. And so you're a really big Kanye person, right?
Um, People say I have a genuine problem with Kanye, which I
so
to some extent agree. By the way,
so my big thing, the thing I've always found funny is I feel like the marketing side and the way his brain looks at business is so much different than people because like he's almost branded himself now to the point where he's branding himself as crazy because it allows him to be lazy, if that makes sense.
I generally think he's been through some shit.
Yeah, I do
Like
agree with that.
his mom's death, like genuinely traumatized him to like a huge extent.
Hmm.
Like his mom's death was like a huge thing to him, and I think that because he blames himself. Like
Yeah.
Kanye blames himself for the death of his mother because he says that if he hadn't moved to LA, she wouldn't have died.
See, and like those are the rough things because like I always hate hearing stuff like that because it's like you can't beat yourself up about things like that, and especially like it doesn't matter what level of fame you are, you're still a
But you can
person, and
help
it
but do it.
sucks. Mm, yeah, but like because like my fascination with Kanye is because like his original stuff, like Graduation, is still in my opinion also one of the greatest albums ever made.
I generally think he's a genius, like a
Yeah.
music genius. I'm 100% sure she's one.
Hmm. He's one of those people. So I like the person I correlate to because like how you're like super into Kanye, right? My person is
Yeah.
Donald Glover. Like I've looked into
Oh
every
yeah, I love
facet
him.
of his media, like from everything he's ever done, and I look at the man and I'm like, he's so intelligent, just on a different
Only
level.
reason I watched the Lion King remake was because of him.
Honestly, same. And even then, I had a
Well,
hard time with
and
it
yeah, and I
because
love
like
Beyonce too, but mainly Donald Glover.
see that Beyonce was low key hot take. Beyonce was my biggest problem with the Lion King, and it super
Oh,
hurts
she
me.
can act for shit.
Well, and
She's
one of the person
she's
that
an amazing
lost the
musician, but
role,
she can't act.
Yeah, and the person that lost the role to Beyonce was one of the females from Pentatonics, the
Oh,
acapella
really?
group. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
girl that originally was going to do it until they switched over to get Beyonce in there. And I am a firm believer that she would have done better in that role specifically.
But yeah,
Like,
I think Beyonce isn't a great actress, but she's like a god tier musician.
yeah, and it's also it's like as much as I hate it, it's one of those things you slap her name on something and it's an instant
And
box
it
office hit.
sells. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same with Kanye, by the way.
Yeah, you attach Kanye's name to any like so have you know his I don't remember I think it's called Lift Yourself is the name of Kanye's song, but it's the
Yeah, yeah,
Shoot to
yeah.
Loop song.
Do you
Like
know that it's basically a diss track?
yeah, no, and like and my
Because
funny thing
he was gonna sell that beat to Drake, and Drake was doing a song with it. He said
mm,
fuck it and released that song, so Drake couldn't use it.
that is great. But like the thing I love about it is like he released that song and like let's be real. That is 30 seconds at the end of a like song of him making a joke essentially of the whole track.
And I genuinely find it very entertaining.
Yeah,
That song.
it's literally 3 minutes of Kanye trolling the world is what that
Yeah,
song is. But the thing is it still went platinum in like a week, not even a week. I'm pretty sure it was one of those
exactly.
overnight platinums, like because he
I
just
think
the second
every
he
one of his albums
releases.
has been number one, except for yeah.
Yeah, and that's my thing is I'm like I couldn't imagine what kind of like what it would be like living in that kind of spotlight either, because like everything he does is instantly seen by millions upon millions. So it's like I couldn't imagine that kind of pressure stacked
I'm
up on
definitely guilty of that. You know how he announced an album during like June, right?
him. Mm-hmm.
Like I was in a group in Reddit called West Suburber, and we those motherfuckers tracked every movement. Like some guy in that Reddit hacked into the
Yeah.
cameras at the Wyoming airport to see who was in Wyoming because we assumed that every rapper in Cody, Wyoming was going to collaborate with Kanye. So
Mm.
they would hack and they would check like plane routes and shit to know who was in Wyoming. So every single movement that would happen in Wyoming, people would know about it instantly. So yeah, I
That's
jubile that that man didn't have like a single second of privacy, especially during that time, especially during like album cycles.
yeah, and that's just it. Like so, like when people look at him and say like, "Oh, he's so different," it's like honestly, I kind of understand why, because it's not like we did him any favors. Like the general public has put him under that spotlight, and it's like I personally, I can imagine what that does on a person. Like,
And they're ruthless with him. Whenever he makes a
mm,
mistake, they, for some reason he like makes it.
yeah,
Like
everybody
they won't
is
let
the
him
first
forget
one
any
there.
mistake he does.
He's one of those people I'm really like interested to see like a documentary or something on him later in life
Oh,
that he
the
doesn't
Kanye
see.
biopic is gonna be amazing.
Like honestly, it's gonna be
It's
something
my dream project. I'm gonna be honest. Like
you're like,
my
that's my
dream
dream
film
project.
project is a Kanye biopic
That would be
because
that would
that man
be
has an interesting life. His dad was a Black Panther.
yeah. And that's just yeah, there's so much about him that like I feel like so many people just don't even know.
Yeah, no, and I definitely believe the man is like a bit like slightly crazy, but they say what genius isn't.
True. You look at Elon Musk, like he's a genius, but he is one of the most awkward people I've ever seen. And like some of the
Yeah,
ideas he comes with, I'm like, that is psychotic. Like what?
yeah.
Like
The whole chip thing is fucking psychotic.
yeah, dude. And then like his whole concept, the not a flamethrower, still just blows my mind. This man really
That's
says,
genius.
I'm just gonna sell 1,000 not a flamethrowers because it's illegal to sell flamethrowers. So he literally
That was
built a
genius.
flamethrower
Actually,
and named it not a flamethrower. Like,
that was fucking genius.
but like, I'm like, what? Like, and it's just, and then like him now digging tunnels under LA. I'm like, I heard
I've seen
about
a
that.
lot of analysis about that. Most
Yeah.
people think it won't pan out.
What I'm worried about is I'm like, what happens if it collapses? Like,
Yeah,
ah,
I think he's way too ambitious for like what he's doing.
yeah,
Like, the
all
man
the
wants to colonize Mars.
yeah. But to be fair, it was a very cool humanizing moment when I heard him in an interview talking about the Easter eggs he put in the Tesla and how if you go to like an empty parking lot and play Beethoven, your car will automatically dance to it in auto drive mode. And so it's like I hear little things like that, and I'm like, oh, that's still like cool, like a cool human
Yeah,
element.
you can tell that a human made that car. It's like weird
Yeah.
because it's super futuristic. It's like the most futuristic car we have right now.
Hmm.
But it's also like superhuman.
And I love you can play Pong inside the car. The car has Pong built into it.
It
Like
has
it's,
like a you can
I
play.
love it.
It's made you can add an Xbox controller to it to play games.
Hmm. But I just love it because it's the
But by the
most
way, I do
futuristic
believe he's
car
getting
that
to
you can
Mars.
play Pong. Oh, I
I
think
do
so
believe
too.
he's landing on Mars, and sooner than later, actually.
I agree. And honestly, and my thing too is I'm like, man, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I would so much rather somebody build like a hotel underwater in the deep sea, like in the deep ocean, than build like a hotel in Mars.
Oh
Because it's
yeah,
like,
the the deep sea is way more mysterious to me than anything.
yeah, because
Because
like,
there's something down there. There has to be like something huge down there.
see, and that's the part. Because like, as much as we say that like we haven't discovered all of our ocean, for the most part, we do know what's down there. For the most part, we can tell where everything is. But my thing is, it's still like it's one of those things, and I feel like it's the same with space. That like knowing and seeing it for yourself are two different things.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Like we know, like in theory,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen it.
And see, my big thing too is I'm like, even if we do ship to Mars, like a Mars trip, I feel like would be cool for like the first like 30 minutes. Like I feel like the view in space would be super cool, but it doesn't really change. And then like Mars is empty. Like there's nothing really there. So it's like,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Carly is ready, by the way. So
Okay.
we're
So we
about
can
to
add her
get
in.
our first guest in.
All right. So
She's
we will throw her
Carly,
in here
aka
to introduce.
Fryz. We met through her actually.
Yeah. We actually
So
met through
that's
her
kind of
stream
cool.
and her Discord.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Do we need to send her an
let-
invite or can she just kind of pop in?
are we? Yeah.
All right.
I think
So we're
she
gonna.
can just like
Ooh.
join the call.
Ooh. Oops.
Yeah. She can just like join the call. So yeah. So
All right.
Carly, aka Chzzy Fryz,
Yep. We'll do a
amazing streamer.
little
Shout out to
plug.
her.
Yeah. Glass blower also. She's got some
Yeah.
really amazing products. I'll let her plug it later.
We've been
Hey.
super annoying her chat about the podcast, so
Yeah.
she can plug her shit here. Hello.
Hello.
What's
Yo,
going
what up?
on?
Is the mic
Alright.
working? I had to like undo
Yeah.
it.
No, yeah, it's
Okay.
actually
It's working great. Way better than last stream, actually.
Sweet. Good.
So this is our friend Carly. Carly, would you like to do your little introduction and plug some of your fun stuff?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Carly. I am a variety streamer. I'm Chzzy Fryz on literally all platforms. CHZZYFRYZ. And yeah. I also make glass. And
Cool
yeah,
thing.
just Chzzy Fryz on everything, and you can find your way. So
Yeah, shout out to her.
Yep. And so
This whole thing exists in a way
I
thanks
think
to
this
her.
is where
So
I'm going to casually segue into our next segment, where we're going to talk about bad book to movie adaptations, where we
yes.
all have different things that we are pretty passionate about on this subject. So,
Yeah.
Carly, while we brought you on, why don't we start with you on
sure.
Death Note?
Yeah, oh my god. Thank you by the way for having me. Sorry
Of
for like
course.
It's an honor.
suddenly being here. But yeah, so I guess it came out like 3 years ago, which
The
is
movie?
yeah, or 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not quite sure cuz
Yeah,
I was looking up
sounds
yeah,
that
a
sounds
synopsis because I like blocked a lot of it from my memory, so I wasn't exactly sure what had happened, and it's just it's so bad. They tried to cram so much into it, and like the whole movie feels like a fever dream because it goes into one thing and then just like goes straight on to the next, and it doesn't like really explain anything.
Mhm.
And I don't know, man. It's just the only thing that saved it. Well, it wasn't saved. The only good thing was William Defoe as Ryuk. And that was just
Yes.
basically because of his voice and the makeup. They ruined his character
That was a
too.
great casting choice, by the way.
And I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
for
and my
sure.
big thing, like when you look at like the thing between Light and L in the movie, I'm like, Light's supposed to be this genius that's like always ahead of the game. Like he's just smarter than everyone. And I'm like, in the movie, he literally gets by luck consistently.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, no, like in the comics and in everything else, it's like he was just smarter than people, and that's how he got through things. And
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
he was composed too, and I just like watched some clips, and he like crumples like a leaf so many times in the movie. And remember, I forgot that scene where like everything flies around and then he screams like that goat.
yeah, it's like
He's
why?
supposed
What
to
was
be like
that?
autistic or something like that. I read, right?
Supposed to be like what?
Supposed to have like some mental health problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, but not in that way. He's supposed to be like, I think like borderline sociopathic. I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure, but like,
It's one of
yeah,
those things
he's
that
like
he was,
supposed to be way more composed.
He's so
Yeah.
intelligent that he was awkward because of it. Was like the
Yeah.
original character.
Oh yeah, no, he was like antisocial because like yeah, that's I
He's
forgot
just
about
smarter
that.
than everybody else. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
and then we got a plug-in chat going for you. But
Yeah.
and then like those are one of those things, especially with things like that. I always have a hard time, especially when I hear that it's like we're making one of these. Like
Yeah.
we're
Oh
making
yeah,
one
because
movie.
it's a huge story.
Yeah. So what
Seriously,
they
'cause
should
I'm
have
like-
done was either they should have made multiple or just a longer movie with a better like plot like a plot point, because it was so, because there's so much to cover in Death Note, they kind of tried to do everything, and that way it led them to doing nothing because they didn't have enough time to do anything. And
They just crammed it into like a movie.
yeah, and like all the like tone of the movie changed so many times, and like by the end of it, it was just like some weird generic like young adult teen romance movie.
Yeah, and
So
the
I think
romance
Japan
feels
is doing a
forced in a lot of
series.
parts as well. But
Yeah.
it's just
I'm pretty sure Japan is like actually doing like a proper movie series, like a long one.
Oh really?
Yeah, I've seen it like recommended in Netflix a lot of times. I've never seen them.
Oh,
but
dang.
I've seen there's like a couple of them, I think.
Well, I need to look into that because this hurt to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And like
it's
yeah,
a
it was
painful
so
one.
bad. Because I also like I saw this other scene where apparently the first time Light sees Misa, which her name's Mia. Why? Like everything's Americanized, by the way. Like it's in
Oh
America.
yeah, it's super
instead.
whitewashed.
Yeah, it's super whitewashed. It is like completely whitewashed, actually. And I don't know why they chose to do that. I didn't know, like, was it to appeal to a like wider audience? Which I don't. That's problematic in itself. And also, I don't think they needed to do that since it was already live action. But I don't know. They just like they swapped Light and Misa's personality like completely, and it's just bizarre.
Light's a little bitch in that movie.
Yeah, he's and so is L, actually. I forgot about that too, but like anytime he tries to do something, he's crying.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say, like, they made L like a little, like, they ruined L far more.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, to be fair, Light was kind of a little bitch, like, always.
Yeah, but
like, that's
he doesn't
just
like
kind of a thing.
shit his pants when he met Ryuk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The movie he like drops to the floor screaming when he sees Ryuk.
Yeah.
Oh, and then also like all the deaths are super like gory, but not even like in a horrifying way. It's like almost cartoony, and it seems like
it's almost comical.
yeah,
Yeah, they
it
could've
seems
gone,
like a lot of this
Final
movie.
Destination route.
Yes, exactly. And it's like the deaths and like the scene where Light sees Misa for the first time, and it's like slow motion and like 80s music, and she like flips her hair. It's like like certain scenes and like stylistic choices in this movie really seem like it's just a spoof on other movie tropes all smashed into one thing, and they said, yeah, we're gonna call this Death Note even though it's literally not. And like
Oh my God.
it's that is such a pet peeve of mine, and I think it's gonna apply to a lot of what you guys talk about too. It's like if it's not the thing, don't call it that.
They
Yeah.
like
just
read the
air it
stuff
on
into
too.
the movie.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna make an adaptation, a live action adaptation, you need to make it the same story. Otherwise, it's not the same goddamn thing. So just call it like
like
Death
they just
Note
read the
inspired instead.
synopsis. They went to IMDb, read what the show was about, and they just like wrote a script from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are so many parts of that movie too, though, with Death Note, where I feel like the writers like wrote a bunch, and then they were like, "Wait a second, we missed this part, and this part. So how can we kind of cram them to fit into this point,
Yes.
so that we
Yeah,
can
like
keep moving on,
iconic
even though we're
parts.
not paying attention to the core."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Seemed like an afterthought. The whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if they watched it. I wouldn't even be sure if they did it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I don't think, and that's another thing. Like, if I genuinely don't think any of them did. Like, otherwise, how could you be okay with working on that project?
And I think what makes it worse is like Death Note is like widely considered to be like the best anime out there, right? Like a lot of people consider it. Like if you ask like a normie about anime,
It's
they
a
will know.
highly debatable
Yeah.
topic, but yes.
But like, if people that don't know about anime still know about
That's
that,
true. Yeah.
it being good, and I think it hurts way more because of that. Like, if they got
Yes.
like a lesser known anime or that wasn't that even considered to be like amazing, it wouldn't be such a problem. But if you got
Exactly.
like the best,
Yeah, it's like it's
like
insulting.
you're making The Godfather.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's like I definitely agree with them, because it's like it's one of those things like with like current animes. Could you imagine if they tried to make a One Piece live action movie? It's like there's just some things that like you should just not touch that. Like it should just stay pristine like it is.
Yeah.
It's like, and then like my big like book to movie like horror show was Aragon. Like I loved those books as a kid, and then you go to watch the movie and it's literally Star Wars with dragons. Like that is what the Aragon movie is. It's
What's
literally like,
Aragon supposed to be about? I never read it.
so Aragon, it's like a 4-book series about like a little farm boy.
Wait,
right?
This is an Aragon like the king from Lord of the Rings.
No, this is
I
Aragon.
thought you were talking about Lord of the Rings. I was
from
very
the
weirded out by it. I love the
no.
movie.
Yeah, no, the movie Lord of the Rings, I have love hate on some points, but they did a pretty good overarching spot.
Yeah.
So Aragon, it's a 4-book series from Aragon, Eldest, Bersinger, and then Inheritance. And so the whole concept is that so there's an elite in this world. There's an elite group, right? They have special powers over everybody else, right? And these people, they have dragon riding abilities. They're dragon riders, connected with dragons, have magic. But one of them decides to take power from themselves, betrays the rest of the group. Nobody thinks any of them are alive, and one of them remains alive to be a guide and a mentor to teach a little farm boy from a faraway land how to handle these magical powers he was bestowed. And it's literally Star Wars, like with dragons.
That sounds
Like,
pretty good.
So the books are incredible, like the character development. So there's a character Arya throughout the entire first book, right? So the way the movie does it is that exact romantic. We're gonna make it a like romantic love interest thing, where in the books, the whole first movie, she's unconscious, poisoned, and dying. She doesn't talk or anything. But like the movie gives it these like weird fever dreams to where he sees her like dancing around and talking to her in his dreams. And it's supposed to build this like big emotional connection. But in the books, it's her trying to communicate to him dreaming, like while she's in a dungeon dying. But the movie just tries to make it all like ethereal, and like she's supposed to be an elf. Very much so made her she's a human. And it literally like at the end of the movie it mentions that she's going back to her people. And that's the point you very much so realize that she's an elf. By her people they mean an elf, but it's literally just they don't.
So she physically looks human, like she doesn't have ears or anything.
Oh yeah, doesn't have the ears, anything like that. Like the book had like a full descriptions of how elves are different than humans, and she was just a human. And they literally not once in the entire movie was it acknowledged that she was supposed to be an elf. And at the point where they could have plugged it at the end of the movie, because they did one of those big, we're gonna try and leave a cliffhanger for a second sequel to it that never happened because it bombed. But like the whole sequel was that she was supposed to be going back to the Elven Kingdom, which right there you just plug that they're elves. But no, and even then they changed it to her people. That she's going back to her people. And I'm like, what? Like
if the story they're making an adaptation off of has specific information about the characters or the scene or literally anything about the actual narrative, why don't they use it?
Yeah,
Yo,
Like-
fun
my
fact,
whole thing is all about that.
It's making it a
final
whole new
battle-
story.
Yeah, the final battle was also supposed to take place in a dwarvish kingdom. You don't see a single dwarf nor dwarves even acknowledged in the movie once. They just
Rip.
they're
Like,
like,
you don't know.
too much in CGI.
Like, if I don't read the books and just watch the movie, do I don't know about dwarfs in this universe?
Honestly, if you didn't watch the movies and you watch, like, if you didn't read the books and you just watch the movie, you're just gonna watch it and be like, "What is this fever dream?" Because nothing makes sense. Because it's so much like information. Because it's like a 400-page book that they tried cramming into an hour long, like hour and a half movie, and it just doesn't work that way. That's not.
Yeah.
It's like it takes me like I'm a pretty decent reader. Like when I read consistently, and the book took me 6 to 8 hours to read all the way through. And it's one of those things that, like, if I can read it in 6 to 8 hours, when you're making an actual movie, I expect it to at least be 4 to 5 hours. Like, because to be fair, a lot can be condensed when it's like scene descriptions and things in books where you can get really in depth. But it's like, I still expect like to be at least half of the read time in screen time. Like,
Oh yeah, totally.
That makes sense, like
Mhm.
in that aspect of getting all the stories. But like, if they're trying to do an adaptation of like this universe that's like so big and so much happens, like a 3-hour movie is like a lot to ask for. As like for like the typical audience member is not going to want to watch a 3-hour movie, or it has to be like really really good for it to get somewhere. So like I think these need to be at least 2.5 hours or multiple parts, depending on how much they want to put in there. And it's weird because it seems like this one and Death Note tried to do so much and then also tried to be a short movie, like not even an average length movie, and it's just like kicking themselves in the ass.
It's the opposite of The Hobbit.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that I feel like they should have taken, because especially for like a series that has 4 books, why are you trying to cram it all into one when you can split, like, because you could get
No,
8
it-
movies
so
out
like,
of this,
Yeah.
splitting each book into 2
Plotline from
movies.
all 4 books are in the movies.
What was that?
The what in the movie?
Do you have like plot lines from all 4 books in the same movie, or is it just like the first 2 books?
So with this one, like, because with the 4 books, like, I think they should have split one plot into 2 movies. But they very much like, and the hard thing, especially with Aragon, they tried to take stuff from the second book and push it into the first book, like the first movie too. I don't know if that answers what you were asking, but
Wait, so they do have all 4 books in one movie, or just
no, they just
parts
steal
of?
stuff from the second book and they add it to the first book story in places that it doesn't make sense.
So yeah, it's the opposite of
like-
The Hobbit.
Yeah, because like the other thing is that there's a really big character that's supposed to be a mystic and she's supposed to be a fortune teller, but she actually reappears in the books like 6 different times. And like the way they introduced her in the first movie, like she has a critical core part to the like end fight, and she's not even actually a part of the end fight in the movie. They don't even show her. And then there's like after the teacher is killed off, you're supposed to meet Murtagh, who is this like he's a side character that is on the run from these people called the Varden, which are like the rebellion, literally like the rebellion to the Star Wars theme trope thrown that back. But it's like he's supposed to be running away from the Varden, like he's fleeing the Varden because his dad was one of the bad guys. But the thing is when he runs into Aragon, he's very much so like in the books he's supposed to be this superly cautious character, like he's overly cautious, that's how he survives and everything. But like the second he meets Aragon, he's like, oh, you're going to the Varden, cool, I'll take you all the way there. And like in the books it made it very clear that he's like, I'm only taking you to the crossroads. And it wasn't until they were being pursued by people trying to kill him that he's like, all right, I'll go all the way to the Varden with you. But it's like in the books, he goes all the way with him. He's so happy to take him. And then when they finally get to the Varden, he's like, oh, I have second thoughts. And it's a whole total tone change that makes no sense. Because it's like, why were you so enthusiastic to go? And then you get there and you're like, oh, did you just forget? Like, it was bad.
That honestly sounds horrible.
Yeah,
That
sounds
like
like
adaptation.
yeah. It just sounds like these are just it just sounds like they're doing like this weird paper mache Frankenstein of a story just to get a movie out and then slapping on the name of what they took the pieces from for publicity. And I don't understand why, because they're welcoming in the specific audience. And if that audience is so diehard, especially like Death Note fans, they're going to expect something. And if it's not anything like that, you're like, why would you do that? You're just asking for people to get mad at you. And also, if you did make multiple parts, you could make more money. Like, I don't understand why they do this.
Yeah. My big thing is I was at least happy with the Aragon movie that I didn't get my hopes up because it's the same director from Jurassic Park 3. So it's like I didn't expect much out of it once I saw that announcement. But it was
what
like
year
still
is this movie?
from Aragon?
Yeah, like where did it come from? Where it came?
Oh, I'm actually low-key looking this up real quick because I don't know exactly when the movie released, but the books came out when I was a kid. And like I always thought it was fascinating because when the books were written, the author was only 15. So that's why there are very obvious like correlations to other movies like Star Wars and things. Because like
Okay, that
like
makes
the books do have like
sense.
kind of the generalistics of it. But
Like the path of the hero.
yeah, and the movie came out in 2006. So
okay.
yeah, but yeah, it was just one of those. It blew me away. There were so many things that missed, and it's like this, like because like the way the world building and the map building and everything was in the books, it could have been the next Lord of the Rings series. Like it had the potential to go that far because of how in depth the relations between each faction is. All that stuff, like they had the content to do it. They just definitely dropped the ball on it.
You like decided not to do it.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, and then Pablo, you wanted to talk about Harry Potter, right?
Harry Potter 6 specifically because
Specifically 6? Okay.
I know where this is going.
all Harry Potter books at least 10 times. Like I have a problem with them. Like no normal person should read the same book that amount of times. And the 6th one is my favorite because it has the whole backstory to Voldemort. Like everything you wanted to know about Voldemort, you learn it in the 6th book. Like his whole backstory. Even you know that he wanted to be a teacher at Hogwarts. You know how he made all the Horcruxes. How he, everything. All you want to know about Voldemort.
Just
the
in
movie
case
and
any of our viewers are dumb like I am, real quick. You're talking about Goblet of Fire, right? Is that the one we're talking
I'm
about?
talking about Half-Blood Prince.
Half-Blood. See, I don't know the franchise well enough to know by like which movie.
Yeah, Goblet of Fire is the 4th one. Forehead.
The 4th
Come on.
one? My
Yeah.
bad.
Get with the program.
It's the only one I remember very well.
The 6th movie, is basically like the whole romance between people. It's like like having like a romantic triangle between Lavender and Hermione, and Harry.
Yeah.
And the whole Voldemort backstory that is like basically the most important part of the whole series up to the final, like to the ending. It's very important to the ending actually that like this story because that's how you know that Harry was a Horcrux and shit. Because that's how you learn about the Horcruxes through the 6th book.
Okay, I'm on
They
page
cut
now. I know what we're talking about.
All of that, there's like 3 things about Voldemort's backstory, and it's like the least important ones. You have Dumbledore meeting Voldemort when he was like a weird little kid. And then you have when he's like at Slughorn's when he asks about Horcruxes, which is like technically the most important one.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Did that not happen in the movie?
No, that happens in the movie, but that's like the only ones that happen. You miss the whole Voldemort came back to his hometown to kill his dad and his family. You miss all that. You don't know the fact that Voldemort's like a half-blood.
Yeah. Oh my god, that is so important. And also like you miss a lot of the lore behind like all the like the Deathly Hallows and stuff. It doesn't really explain that much in the movie.
Yeah. You learn that's a Horcrux in the movie because Dumbledore kind of like just explains it like very basic level. But you learn what they are in the books. Like you know what they are. Because that's the whole point of them. They're trying to learn if they actually made them. If he actually made them. Okay. So the whole book, like the point of the book is getting the information about Voldemort. And the movie just literally teen drama.
Yep.
Grab like the lamest part of the book, which is like the whole Harry, Ginny, Ron, Hermione, Lavender thing.
Yeah.
And that's the whole movie.
Yeah, like it could have just been a comedic bit or like a very like side story because like it still matters, but it shouldn't be like the main focus. Like I don't know why. Like all of these just keep reverting into teen romances. It's weird.
Yeah. What's Hollywood's
Also, the whole
fascination with
Malfoy
them,
thing.
man?
Malfoy is like the most important book for Malfoy is the 6th book.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is like 3 scenes. You have like the bedroom scene. You have like you have the scene at the beginning. You have the bedroom scene, and you have when he kills them at the ending.
What was the one? What was the one at the beginning?
When he is in the train and he like petrifies Harry and kicks him and breaks his
Oh
nose.
right. When does the like is the 6th one when he helps the Death Eaters get into Hogwarts, or is that
Yeah.
7? Oh,
That when
yeah.
he fixes the banishing cabinet. That's like
Yeah.
that's super important.
And
he
then
fixes the banishing cabinet that's in like the Dark Alley, so that the Death Eaters can get to Hogwarts and kill Dumbledore.
yeah,
Spoiler
and
alert.
then they have because this is the one where they're taking potions class, right? And then like Harry has the book with all the notes in it, and it turns out it was Snape's notebook from
Yeah.
before. I feel like
But it's like a triple
that was
meaning
left
because
out, right?
the Half-Blood Prince is technically Harry, Snape, and Voldemort because they are all of them
Yeah.
Half-Bloods.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I feel like because I feel like the 6th movie. I haven't seen them in a really long time, but I feel like the 6th movie brushes over like Snape as well as Voldemort. It's just like kind of like sprinkled in there that something's going on. I could be remembering
the movie
wrong.
doesn't even really care about the whole Half-Blood Prince mystery because it's like supposed to be a huge mystery in the book. Like they're
Yeah.
actively trying to find who is it.
I mean,
Like, the
like
movies
it's a
again, like-
title, so
There's like 4 lines in the movie, like at the very beginning, and it isn't even like that. You could not know, like that they have like about the whole thing. The only like important thing, like when he fights Malfoy, he reads the charm in the book. But besides that, it like doesn't really affect the movie, but it affects the book a lot.
Yeah, and that's one of those crazy things, especially if you're gonna name the movie The Half-Blood Prince, that you're not gonna dive into that aspect of the movie as much as you probably.
I mean, to be fair, that's the name of the book too.
Yeah, exactly. But like that, yeah, like the fact that like, especially if they've glossed over that much, like I feel like that's just confusing, a head scratch moment.
yeah, I wonder if they do that because it's lazy writing, or maybe they're doing it because they know that the people who are going to watch it have probably read the books or watched the anime or the shows, whatever, and they just assume that people will know the backstory.
My
But like,
mine is that Voldemort's story is like super dark.
yeah,
Like he
Like-
kills everyone. Like his whole like father side of the family. He kills them all. So I kind of understand. Like it's super dark.
Yeah, maybe Hollywood was just like, this is a little too dark to put on TV screen.
Like he kills an old woman. Like the second he gets out of Hogwarts.
oh yeah, yeah. Because I know in the 7th one they had to after like the test screening or whatever, they had to take out the scene of Hermione getting tortured by Bellatrix because they had originally filmed that, but they had to take it out.
And that's also very important in the book.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I'm pretty sure I've seen the deleted scenes of that. Like they have clips of it on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are. But the rest of I do think that it's like a rather well adapted franchise, except for that one.
Mhm. So, what are your what's your guys' take on the aftermarket movies, like the movies that have came out after the series, like the mythical monsters and those ones?
I like the first one. I think it's a good idea
Yeah.
because I do have like Harry Potter is like my whole childhood.
Me too.
It's the most important part of my childhood, like genuinely. So I
Yeah,
do
and it-
like that it's like still a thing. That's why I love them because I like that
Yeah.
it's like still going on.
Yeah, I feel bad too because I'm one of those people, like, I watched all the movies through it and my mom absolutely loves the franchise. And like I know a lot of the details, but I don't think I've actually gone back and reread any of the books or watched any of the movies in like 8 years. So it's one of those things, everything's just kind of like a hazy memory in the back of my head when it comes to Harry Potter.
Yeah, I haven't reread them since like middle school actually. But I read them for the first time in 3rd grade, and then obviously my brain was like, "What the fuck?" And sorry, I don't know if we're okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're a
Okay.
mature audience, 18.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to course.
I assumed, but yeah. So then I reread it, and then like every year or so, I just happen to do a marathon with like my family or friends, and so I haven't read the books in a while though, so I don't remember too much about what they missed out on. Except there is
My
one
last
thing
reread was like
really mad. Just really quick,
reread
in the
everything.
fourth. Wait, no, not in the fourth one. The freaking Chamber of Secrets. Like, there's this whole thing where Hermione has to do like this potion thing, or else they're gonna get poisoned. There's so many more levels to the Chamber of Secrets than just like the giant chess game and like the
keys.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the first one. That's Chamber of Secrets. No, that's Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I meant the stone, not the secrets.
Did the movie have the weird like IV tentacle scene? I don't remember if I've
Yeah.
ever seen it. Yeah,
But it's like
very
very.
too, right?
It's like a minute scene.
Yeah. And I mean, like, for pacing reasons, I think that was a decent
Yeah,
choice.
I think like for most of it, I think that the franchise is like very well made. Like they did like a great adaptation of it.
Yeah, and they didn't warp anything. It's just they left out some things which would have made things more understandable, but for the most part, I don't think they didn't butcher it or make it into something
No,
completely
not at all.
different.
Especially like 5 and 6 are like the longest books. 5 is like 800 pages.
Yeah.
So, it's understandable if they like cut some of it.
And see,
For
that's
sure.
one of those franchises. I appreciate the fact that they split the last movie in like the last book into
Oh
two
yeah,
movies,
that's
rather
that's
than trying to
a
condense
genius
it.
decision.
Yeah.
The only bad thing that came from it is like every single franchise started doing that, like the last movie, a double feature.
Yeah. It's like not everything needs to be like that. And I think that like the film industry needs to be more mindful of like the whole point is to tell stories and like create art. So why wouldn't you respect it as its own entity? Like, if it needs to be 2 parts, make it 2 parts. If it needs to be one, like, it's just ridiculous how people do it for money grabs and then end up like making less money on it because it sucks.
Then projected. And that's my big thing too, is I laugh because I feel like most of those people go into those thinking it's going to be an easy money grab. Like, oh, it already has a fan base. We don't have to pay out on high tier actors because of that. And it's still.
And Harry Potter had a huge fan base.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, I feel like the casting though, they put quite a bit into that still.
It's an amazing casting.
Yeah, and also I know that Snape, well, the actor for Snape, I totally forgot his name. Alan Rickman. He knew because when they started filming, the last book wasn't out yet, I don't think. And so J.K. Rowling told Alan like the whole Snape arc and everything, and so he was the only one who knew. He was the only actor who knew, so that I think that was like a really good move on their part. So that way, like, obviously as an actor, he could internalize that, and then like everyone else was still like, "Whoa!"
Well, and especially in a set where his character in the books also knew more information than everybody else did on the full story, because a lot of it was kept private between just him and Dumbledore. So the fact that he was able to get that private information from her, yeah, it almost adds that extra element to allow him to get more in depth into his character.
And he knew from both sides. He knew like the dark side and Dumbledore. So he was like, he knew everything.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any like books that you read that you think had good adaptations? Like any that cross your mind? Because like this one might be a little too old for you, but like The Children of the Dune, I read the book when I was young and I watched the movie, and like it's one of those things that like the extended cut to Children of the Dune is like a 6-hour movie. But that's
mine's almost the same title. Is funny actually.
Yeah, and I loved it because on The Children of the Dune, like they follow the book page by page, and it's almost as if like it's one of those you could tell it was like a passion project for a lot of the writers because of how in depth. But it's also like I don't expect it because a lot of people don't watch it because it's naturally like a 3.5-hour movie, and then the extended cut's like 5.5, 6 hours.
Oh my
God! It's
God.
like and then if you add in the cut scenes that they did take out, it's like 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute for a second and tweet out the link so we can get some more people in chat. If not, I'll be right back.
Yeah, cool. Are all good. But yeah.
So
and then
mine. Okay. Sure.
What's yours? Check, check. Can you play?
Mine's weird because it's almost the same title. It's a movie called The Woman in the Dunes.
Okay. I don't
It's a
think I've
Japanese
ever...
book.
Oh, okay. See, and that's something too. I feel like Western filmography ruins it a lot more because I've seen some foreign flicks that like do justice to some books, especially in the horror genre, is what I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah, so Woman in the Dunes is like this movie about a guy that gets trapped in a desert city that has to that they have to. It's like a hole in the sand where people live, and they have to live all their lives like shovel in the sand out of their homes, and they kidnap him.
Yeah.
To like live with a woman there, and the movie it's like a movie from like the 40s or something, like an old movie.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's amazing, and the book's awesome too.
See, that's super cool. There's a lot of those. I'm gonna have to get that from you later on, and we can post it on somewhere if anybody else. I'm probably on the Discord for anybody watching if they want to see them. Because I'm definitely I'm a big film person, and I'll have to go look at that for sure.
Yeah, it's on YouTube actually.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's something I'll definitely be watching here soon.
Yeah.
And then, all right, and Carly, you went to school for film, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I think I just screwed up my headphones. Okay, sorry. Yeah, you went robotic for a second. I think that was on me. Yeah, I am currently in school for it. Oh, did you hear it? Is it gone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was a film major last year, but I'm now minoring in film, and I am still taking classes, and I still plan on getting into the film industry, and I've been on set a few times. So yeah, I'm really into film. I have some very aggressive opinions, but
that's actually how we met.
Yeah, that's we went to a film summer boot camp thing, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, like a weird college thing.
Yeah, so that's how we met, and it was fun. And we went to Harry Potter World at the same time. So
yeah, the studio worked. We went to
the Harry Potter. That's what I meant. Sorry. The studio was sick.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I've always interested on stuff like that because I haven't even gone to college yet. I'm waiting until I turn 25 because then I can get in much significantly cheaper into college.
I'm going to film school.
To film school? See, and those are my things. So when you look at film, do you think that what do you think is more valuable in your opinion? The connections on the people you meet going to film school, or the actual information you're learning?
Connection,
but it's also important to anything and shit.
Yeah, it's
there's some technique
to know what you're doing,
but mostly you get to learn people, to meet people.
Yeah, because that's the big thing with that industry is it's all about networking, and I feel like that's the time is in school is where you do the core amount of your networking, because I feel like once you get that basis, especially because you're all in the same class per se going into the Hollywood industry or wherever they may go after that those are the connections as they grow individually, that if you can get callbacks, that it's because I'm a big person, I believe that when the tide of the harbor rises, so do all the ships. So it's one of those as one person starts to get bigger, if people feed off each other and help each other grow as a unit, that you ultimately get bigger than if you're trying to go at it just by yourself.
Oh, definitely.
For sure. And also in my experience, it's also, especially as a student, it's because obviously I don't know what the real world industry is like yet, but it's once you're there, you're most likely already slightly established. And so when you're networking in school and collaborating, you get to learn alongside with each other. And also people are more open to getting new people who may not be as experienced because for example, I was on set one time doing makeup, and then someone was like, oh, what else do you like about film? And I was like, honestly, I want to try everything. And they're like, oh, we need a grip. And I was like, I've never gripped before. And they're like, that's fine. And I doubt that would happen in the real world, but it's that kind of stuff is where you get to try everything and grow with people.
And you get to select what you like to do.
Yeah, and I feel like even in the real world, I feel like that those kind of opportunities do come up still, because a lot of the times, especially like I feel like when you would be on a film TV studio, it's as simple as like on real day to day lives. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes people can't make it one day to a shoot that they couldn't on the other.
Yeah.
And then the thing is if most people you get that call day of, you don't get it in advance, so you have to figure it out that day. And so I would have to assume you have people that cross over and do multiple jobs like that.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
definitely like really recommended because you could be a PA one day and then suddenly the cinematographer doesn't show up and you've always wanted to be a cinematographer. You know how to do it. They need someone right then and there. You're good and you get hired again. So
Yep, and that's the thing too is the fact that you're already there. That's my big thing too is because like I was just laughing with my mom earlier today. One of my brothers, he went to business school down in Silicon Valley. Everything he wanted to be a banker, but he took a job and now he works in like the one of the weight rooms for Facebook at their headquarters. And that's my big thing is like that's a foot in the door at Facebook, and from there you're allowed, like, you meet people are going to come in, they're going to work out with you, you're going to be able to network there, and that's how you can grow inside that company to get into more of what you want to do. So it's more about taking what's offered rather than necessarily what you're looking for.
exactly. That way you learn more and also it shows people that you're not like because if you say no to something just because you don't like think it's like cool or whatever,
Right.
people are gonna be like, oh, well, we're never gonna ask you again. So,
You get a bad rep if you do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so Pop, what are you gonna what part of film do you want to study?
I'm studying directing.
Nice.
Directing, probably at some point I'm focused also on filmography, but mainly directing.
Cool. What's your favorite genre?
Horror, definitely.
Yeah.
See, I laugh because these are the things like because I've always looked into writing because like for a long portion of my life I wanted to be a writer, like for TV and everything.
I love
And
writing
so
too.
yeah, but I was someone like I never went to classes, like I never went to anything like that. But it's something like I used to make clips, and that was like the big thing that like I tried taking to heart from everything that I had watched about people. Is they always told me just write, like even if you don't think it's good, just write something, just to keep in the habit of it. And it's something that like I always laugh because I fell out of it, and then I get every now and then I'll dip and dabble to get back in, but like it's hard to keep that motivation going for it once you've let it like go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's just the creative process in general.
Yeah,
I love writing too.
You look what?
I love writing. I'm a huge I have very psychedelic dreams, and I always write them down to like.
Oh, that's so good.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Once dreamed that I was in a caravan going to a black hole in the middle of a city. It was
Solid.
super weird.
As you do.
So another question with you guys being in film. So do you guys feel like you're enjoyable to watch movies with? Or
nope.
Are you guys like, because I'm someone, I very much so, I hyper analyze movies and I'm like, oh my God, why did they do this? They should have done this. And I break down things as I watch them. And like a lot of my friends hate watching things with me because I have a hard time just accepting things for what they are rather than, oh, it could have been better if they did these things. Like,
I'm definitely not.
Find that?
I'm a huge snob. I'm a huge film as a form of art.
Yeah.
Rather than entertainment.
That gets me a lot too. But
so,
I mean,
whenever I say oh yeah, this movie sucks, and we're not yeah, but it's super fun. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's horrible.
Yeah, it's like whenever people want to watch what's her name, Melissa McCartney movies. I'm like, I'm gonna sit this one out, but have fun.
Also, unpopular take. That's how I am with Will Ferrell. I
Really?
don't get it. The comedy is just not there for me.
Most comedy.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of comedy movies.
Only Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, the only comedic director I watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be explored more, but.
And I hate it too because it's pushed me almost to the point now where I almost only watch YouTube just because I have so much time. Even with TV nowadays, I watch TV shows and I'm just like, guys, why? Because I feel like writing in general has gotten really lazy as CGI has become.
Oh yeah,
I
think it's a horrible way of filmmaking. Marvel movies are bad filmmaking.
Yeah,
I once watched this. It's I was watching the behind the scenes in Spider-Man, the last one. And what there's Nick Fury's in a room with a gun. He doesn't even have a fucking gun. It's like
What?
a straw with a ball.
Why doesn't he have a prop gun?
It's like they're in a hotel, right? They have like a couch in a green screen, and the man has doesn't have a prop gun. He has a stick with 2 balls, and that's it.
No wonder they take freaking
wonder-
forever to make because
I
they're doing
wonder if
everything in
It is in
post.
the gun.
I was just about to say the
So
post.
dumb.
I bet you
It
that
has
was
to be
something they
cheaper.
planned to have them CGI in the gun. But yeah, like how hard is it to go buy a fake airsoft gun? Like
Dude,
just
it
make
has
that
to be
the
fucking
holster and call it
cheaper.
good.
There's no way if you buy like even a real gun, it has to be cheaper than making the whole thing CGI.
Then CGIing it out.
Yeah, otherwise I don't know why else I mean, is it cheaper? Or
I guess I'm pretty sure it should be.
yeah, but it's like, and also with CGI and also like diverging a little bit, I also do special effects makeup, like practical effects, and it just
Oh yeah, she
CGI
got
is
flex
good.
at the
CGI is good and it is useful and it's necessary, especially as technology is evolving. We're obviously going to incorporate that into filmmaking. But dude, when people use only CGI instead of a combination of practical effects and CGI, it just, first of all, it gets into uncanny valley territory and it's weird to look at as a viewer, which is who you're making the movie for. And also it doesn't give the actors enough like concrete like stuff to work with in the scene. And it's always like, for example, the example I always use is from The Thing, when he like morphs into the face. Like originally they had like another like whole fake human.
the second one, right? The 2011 one.
Yeah, and like so like it's having a fake human, and then like the way I think it should have been done was have a real fake human for the person to be like whoa, and then have CGI when it
Yeah.
morphs into the face instead of making the actual fake human also CGI. Like it gives everyone it's better for everyone to do a combination.
Better for actors. I think it's even better for shooting because you can like get angles from the whole effects and shit.
Yeah, because it's hard to visualize something that's not there. Like for the crew, for the cast, and for the people who make the effects, it's giving more people.
I'm pretty sure
people
they were making
jobs.
like actual like practical effects for that movie, and at some point they just like said, "No, fuck it," and they did CGI.
They did. They made practical effects for the entire movie, and then right at the end, they're like, you know what? No thanks. And
That's like the whole point of the first one. The first one, like my second favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
It's like the whole point is like the effects in the, and also by the way, how the CGI aged fast.
For
If
sure.
you see CGI that was like groundbreaking 5 years ago, it looks horrible.
That is such a good point. Yeah, because if you're only using technology, obviously it's going to get better from here on out. So if you have like something practical in it, if it looks like a real enough human or whatever it is, like it's never gonna. Yeah, that's a good point.
It doesn't age. Like the same thing with like traditional animation, like versus CGI. It doesn't age.
I agree.
And like practical effect like stay. They even have like if they look outdated, they even like have a look to it.
Yeah.
Like, outdated CGI just look bad.
Yeah, and I think that's because like I think that just has to do with like human perception with like CGI stuff. We're always going to be able to tell, whereas like if special effects is like shitty, it's going to be like okay, but like it'll be easier to translate later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so hard. Like there are so many movies I can think like so one of my favorite movies of all time is A Scanner Darkly. I don't know if either of you guys have heard of that because it's kind of an indie film.
Scanners, the one.
A Scanner Darkly.
Oh
yeah.
no,
So it has Robert Downey Jr., Keanu Reeves, and Woody Harrelson all in it. Oh, and Winona Ryder. Yeah, it has Winona Ryder. So the thing is like because of the CGI is like the most reason that most people haven't seen it. So with the movie, they shot the whole movie live action, and then they did an overlay with CGI afterwards.
Fuck.
So they shot the whole movie, and then they did an animation overlay on top of it. And it was like very hit or miss for some people. But like the reason they did it was because so basically the whole concept of the movie is that the all-seeing eye has been created. Like the government, they monitor everything. And so how they managed to do that is when you go to work, you put on the suit. and the suit is constantly like changing your fit, like your appearance between different like genders, and it's just mashing everything together. So it fit the storyline because it was one of those adapted from a book into a movie, and it allowed like something you couldn't do live action. But because they had such like an all-star like cast, they wanted to keep it at least somewhat live action. But because of the overlay, it was just awkward, and a lot of people weren't into it. But like, I love the movie because it's one of those like, there's no way to predict the ending of the movie until you're at the end. Like, because I'm really big, like when people foreshadow, I pick up on foreshadows way too easy, and I can then predict what's happening. And like that is one of those few movies that to be fair, they're all drug addicts in the movie, so that alone in the randomosity of it makes it hard to predict. But like when the depth at the end hits and they show you why everything was the way it was, it's just one of those like you watch it back and watch it a second time, and the movie's a completely different experience. Like kind of like the Book of Eli. I feel like that's one of those as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like you watch it the second time through, and then you realize, oh, they told you he was blind the entire time, and I just missed it. Type things. So.
Yeah, I like movies like that because a lot of the times, like it's weird when you put so much time and effort into it, and then it's just like a one-time consumable piece of media.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy things like that.
Yep, one of those where it's like the rewatch value is almost better than the initial watch itself.
Like the Sixth Sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's why Ready Player One was as successful as it was, because it's one of those things you watch. You do? So my thing is like the reason I think it constantly does as well as it does, because to be fair, that movie still sells today. So people still buy it consistently or rewatching it. And I feel like it's because they threw so many cameos in it once that you can't see them all in one watch through. So you have to watch it back through almost 3 times.
Oh yeah.
See everything.
Just like see everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, so also with Ready Player One, I would put that in my category of bad movie adaptations because I read the book, and boy,
the book's really good.
So much.
I haven't read it.
It was like my thing about the movie is I feel like that movie was kind of like a Steven Spielberg. Hey, let's just capitalize on everything you've ever made ever, and then squeeze it all in one movie. And that's kind of what Ready Player One was.
And I also feel like, so there's kind of two sides to the coin with like movie adaptations. There's one where it's like how true to this original story does it stay, but then also like entertainment value, because as a movie on its own, I mean, it's not my favorite, but it was still enjoyable to watch, and like I think it has a really big appeal to like, you know, the masses, and I think it was a successful movie, but like if you read the book, it didn't adapt well. Like it I don't know. So it's like kind of weird. It gave me a lot of dissonance because I'm like, I think I'm enjoying this, but also like this isn't like what it's supposed to be at all.
It's really like a fun movie, like
a
dumb fun movie.
Yeah, which is like totally fine for movies to be, because again, at the end of the day, they're entertainment.
Like Pacific Rim is one of like my favorite movies of all time, and it's like a fun, badass movie.
I need to watch it. Oh, I'm really loud.
Time with it. I have a really hard
with Pacific Rim. It's Del Toro, man. Is he Guillermo del Toro being like a huge fucking nerd?
Apparently.
It's Guillermo del Toro being a huge fucking nerd, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. See, and that's one, like, I never read the book to Ready Player One, so I don't know how good it is at all. But, like, for me, it was very much so.
I heard it's pretty good, actually.
I liked the storyline of the movie, but it was definitely one of those that I wasn't watching it for the storyline. I was watching it for the 1,000,001 cameos out of it. And
it does sound kind of hard to adapt that kind of story.
Yeah. And, like, me and my friends, we still rewatch it, but we solely rewatch it for the fact that we have a drinking game to the movie. So we just play it that way, and it keeps it, like, entertaining for us. But yeah, because we'll play it where if I call out a cameo before you do, you take a drink, and if you can call out a cameo before I can, I drink, and it's a fun way to bounce off each other for it. But yeah, so, it's definitely
like the beginning and
the
end
for the movie itself.
Get wasted.
Yeah, the first scene, we just have a rule: you start the movie by downing a beer, finish the movie. The ending scene and the entrance scene, they're both like, we figure if we're trying to call them all out, we're just gonna finish them anyways. So it's like that you gotta get into the game, you gotta finish a beer to start. And then at the ending, when they like are all running up to the orb, like to the shield at that big end sequence, that's the other one where it's like you just finish it because there's no point in trying to call out that many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And I
That's
couldn't imagine the
that's a great
legal
game,
side of that movie. Like
dude.
the logistics on that side, I couldn't even imagine
Dude,
what a nightmare that was.
it must have been. I guess it had to be like they had to work like main studios. Like they had to go to like Universal and get like all the rights to them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and
there
that's
are
why I
actually
think
some videos explaining what they had to do, like on YouTube and stuff.
yeah, that would have had to have taken at least like a full legal team ready to solve all that. Like so insane.
Because Jason is in it, and the whole Friday the 13th franchise has been like in a legal hell for like 5 years. So that must have been difficult.
Yeah, I like to always make the joke on how you can notice that Nintendo has nothing in it. And that's one of my big laughing points is, they just completely sidestep Nintendo saying
Yeah.
it's not worth the trouble. Like,
But if you knew about like the history of Friday the 13th, that's a fucking miracle right there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's a good point.
Ooh, Pablo, you're a horror person. What's your opinion on The
A
Nightmare
huge
Before
horror
Elm
person.
Street 1 versus 2? Like the
Um,
remaster versus the original.
the remake. Oh, the remake's like horrible. Like the whole, you had like a whole 2010 wave of remakes. It's the
Yeah.
worst one. Like from all of you have like little things that you can. The Friday the 13th remakes had the best Jason. Jason like a fucking badass on that movie, and it's amazing. And but the characters suck. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre has like kind of good stories in the remakes, but the Nightmare on Elm Street like almost like supposed to be like the same story, but they do a horrible job at it. It's the worst from the whole remake craze.
Yeah, that was like I actually haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street yet.
Mhm.
Damn.
But yeah, I know I feel really bad. But yeah, I totally forgot what I was gonna say, but it had something to do with like all the remakes. Like there were so many coming out around the same time.
Yeah.
I don't
Being a
remember.
huge horror fan is the worst because horror is like the most remakey genre.
It really
How do you
is,
feel
though.
how do you feel about jump scares versus like so okay, so now with horror movies like with Jordan Peele and oh what Ari Aster or something like that. I
Yeah,
forgot his name.
Arrestor.
Yeah, how do you feel about like this shift from like
Oh,
gory jump scares
I
into more like psychological like
I call
slightly
it horror
more
renaissance.
yeah,
I
I
think that
love
we're living
that.
through like a great horror renaissance. I do like the whole torture porn wave of like early 2000s. I like it because like I'm like a sick fuck.
I like it
But
too. It's just because for the special effects value, like when
I
Game
can
of
say
Thrones, like when a certain thing happened to someone's hand, I like rewatched that like 5 times. I was like, oh, that was so cool the way they did that. My mom was like, dude, why are you watching that like over and over? I was like, don't worry about it.
I can like tell you the whole Saw franchise like by memory.
I haven't seen Saw yet either. I don't know what
It's
the
8
problem
movies and
is.
I know all of them by heart.
Yeah, and
I
those
like
are one of
the
those things. Like for me, I can only watch them once. Like I can't rewatch those. Like I don't do gore well, and
mhm.
like because my thing is like I feel like I'm interested to get your take on this because it's probably very different than yours. I have a hard time with those because I feel like they're just gory for the sense of gore.
Okay, I do have my biggest quarantine project has been finding the most fucked up movie ever made. Like I've
Yeah.
been working on it.
Have you
And
what's it called? There's one that's like super gory. I haven't seen it, but it's like oh, I don't remember it at all, but I'll DM you
is
when
it
I think
the
of it
guinea
because I
pig
definitely like
project?
it.
And
But sorry,
like
go
the
on.
most fucked up ones I have found are like old like 80 Japanese movies that are like 40-minute movies and it's just gore. Like it doesn't have a story at all. It's basically just
Oh
like
my god.
uh it's basically just like a practical effect like showing off because they're amazing at practical effects. And it's just like 40 minutes of gore, like unadulterated. It doesn't even have a story. And those are like the most fucked up movies I have found. I found some like some horrible ones, but those are like the worst ones. So
Yeah,
I do enjoy that, but I do understand why most people don't like them.
I enjoy it too, but I also do think that like in movies, like just like aesthetically and like writing wise, I don't like when movies have gore just for the sake of having gore, just because of the principle of it, not because I don't not like looking at it. But I think if it's used, I don't think I don't think people should shy away from it, but I think it should be used in like a reasonable way. And if there's a movie that calls for a lot of gore, then go for it. But if there's a movie that it doesn't feel like it should have a lot of gore, then if you put it in there just for the shock factor, I don't think that's right.
It's like,
But
do you know that the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like has zero gore in it?
yeah, no, I've seen that one at least.
Yeah.
Like it has like 3 like bloody scenes, and it isn't even that bloody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Have
that's
you guys-
also
Most
how like it's also kind of like when the movies come out, there's like a certain amount of gore is more socially acceptable and stuff like that.
that's
Yeah.
why you have to find like the uncut Blu-rays,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and those are hard to find.
Yeah. Have you seen The Collector by chance?
I love it.
I've
Okay.
not.
So yeah, that's one of like when it comes to horror movies, that's like at the top of my list. Just because like that movie had gore, but like the gore was to like it was almost more to complement the suspense aspect of the movie than most of the rest.
Yeah, I love it. It's an amazing movie. Imagine like Saw broke into a house.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, and so it's more like booby trapping somebody else's house.
Yeah,
It was
and
like
it's amazing.
yeah,
But
it was
the
one of the
second
few
one is
movies I was
way.
actually genuinely scared watching.
Have you seen the second one?
Yeah. Yeah, they're both
It's way gorier. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good, but it's way gorier. The second one is way gorier
Yeah.
because that's the thing. In the Scream franchise, in Scream 2, they say that the sequel is always gorier.
It should be
What do
though,
you
I feel like.
Yeah,
I have like kind of two more horror questions. But like what do you guys think about what do you think about like comedy horror? Like Scary Movie 5 and
I don't love it.
My
good, don't
one
watch
hot
it.
take is that I'm trying to remember which one it was where they were spoofing like Narnia and all of those. I don't remember which parody one that
I like
was.
Scream.
Yeah.
I love Scream. Scream is one of my favorite movies ever. But the
Yeah,
rest I
there's
don't
only
like.
one I go back and rewatch, and it's because Kevin Hart plays an albino ginger. And it's like my favorite thing that like it literally it's so bad that like he has like now made it so that like when you look at the movie it has unknown actor and you actually like have to research a little bit to find out that it was Kevin Hart that played it.
Oh.
But like
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna look up real quick what that one was because like I don't hate them, but I'm very much so like I have to approach it as this is a comedy, this isn't a horror.
Yeah. Oh my
I
god,
don't
there's
love
this one movie called Fabric that I saw at a film festival, and dude, I thought it was I thought it was going to be a real horror movie going in, and it was the most fever dreamy experience I've ever had. It's like I walked into the theater, they like drugged the air, I blacked out and I walked out and was like, "Oh, I guess that was a movie." It was just like at one point like a baby was born and it was like very clearly not a real baby, but like they were acting like it was, so I wasn't sure if the movie was
like
like
the
supposed
Twilight
to be
baby.
bad or if it was actually bad and like the baby flipped off the camera. It was really bizarre. Um and yeah, I don't know. It's I feel like that well, yeah, that's a good point. If you're doing like a comedy horror movie, it's definitely important to go into it with that mindset. Otherwise, it's gonna kind of screw everything up. Oh
Yeah.
God.
And so yeah, I just
Most
posted
horror
in the
movies went
Discord that
slightly
picture of
comedic
Kevin
in the
Hart.
90s.
What'd you say,
But
Pablo?
Holy shit. That most horror movies like actually went kind of comedic in the 90s after Scream. Like Scream was like the biggest hit ever in horror history, I think.
Yeah.
Or one of the biggest. So when Nightmare on Elm Street went super comedic after that, Chucky went like straight up comedy after that. Most horror movies during the 90s became comedies.
So
Yeah,
But
what's
I
your
don't like that. That's like one of my least favorite eras of horror, the 90s.
Yeah, I
Does
think it
Tucker
took
and
people
Dale
a while
versus Evil count as comedy or horror?
It's
I
comedy,
don't
but
know.
I like that. I like that one.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, I felt like that was that fun in between of comedy and horror.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Mm.
Also, you had somewhere like Evil Dead 2 is like a comedy, but Evil Dead 2 is amazing.
Yeah. By the way, that one I was talking about from the Scary Movie franchise, it was Epic Movie. I think is what it's called.
That big movie.
Okay.
I can't
Yeah.
believe it.
It was
It
just an
looks
offshoot.
crazy.
But yeah, it was Epic Movie. It was something else. But
I've
like,
only
so
ever
I
seen the
can watch them.
Game of Hunger Games one.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that one. But yeah, I watched them, but it was more like this is a comedy. This isn't horror.
Yeah, I think you have
But
to have that mindset. Like
Yeah, for
it's a
sure.
comedy, not a horror movie.
mm. But to be
Because
fair, I
if you
feel
go
like
like
going to
thinking you're
most
gonna
horror
watch a
movies
horror
like that.
movie, you are gonna get like very you're not gonna get scared, so it's gonna be like kind of disappointing.
Mm. And see,
What
like
about?
my big. Oh, what was that?
No, it's okay. I was gonna like kind of change things a little bit. So go
Oh,
ahead.
you. My big thing about like is that I totally spaced actually. I
Oh, I'm sorry.
apologize. Dylan has pulled a blank.
I was just gonna say, have you guys seen the Silent Hill movie? Because that's another
Oh,
adaptation thing. Because
only the
from a
first one.
video game.
Mm-hmm.
Only
I
the first
actually
one.
have not. I
I
didn't play
don't
the
love.
games, nor have I watched the movies. But I was told to play the games before I watched them, and
Yeah.
I haven't gotten around to it yet.
You know which one? I have faith in the Last of Us series. I don't know why, but I have faith in it.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they're doing that. I
They just
think that
announced the
it's really
director.
cinematic.
Wait, they're doing that?
Yeah,
That's a
like
thing.
HBO. They're
So
doing
you're.
via HBO.
Oh, I'm gonna have such a hard time with that, just because Ashley Johnson did just such a phenomenal job on Ellie that I don't think I'm gonna be able to picture anybody else as Ellie.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
just Ashley's voice is ingrained in my head for that.
the only problem I have with it. They have to have perfect casting.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
oh
it's gonna be difficult, but if they do it right, it's gonna be amazing.
I think the guy that wrote Chernobyl is working on it.
The guy what?
Neil Druck, the guy that wrote
Oh yeah,
Chernobyl, and Neil
yeah.
Druckmann are writing it. And I
Yeah.
think an Oscar winner director is directing it. I think they announced it yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. And that's another thing with these adaptations. It's bizarre when they don't get the original writer of the original book, video game, or whatever they're adapting. It's bizarre when they don't get them to work on the movie with them.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously. Like I feel like that's should be like the essential thing. Like you have to have
yeah,
them at least consulting on the project if
yeah.
they're
So
not
it's
like
like even
heavily
if you,
involved.
But
yeah,
I
even
think
if you
Oh,
rewrite
he's
it,
like
like
he's writing it.
he's writing the whole thing.
Neil Druckmann is like writing the whole thing with
Good.
the guy,
yeah.
and I think
That's how it should be.
and the director is like an Academy Award winner. He's like a Russian
Okay. So
guy.
I have faith in it. Are they just they're just doing the first one, right? Or are they like doing both?
I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not. I think some people were saying that it was gonna be like a prequel, like Joel
Oh.
between, but they say Ellie's gonna be in it. So I don't think so. But
Hmm.
that was like the whole rumor around it. It would not be like from beginning of the apocalypse to like a couple of weeks before Joel meets Ellie. But Ellie's in it. So
Hmm.
I think it's gonna be like a direct adaptation of the first one,
Okay.
Okay.
and they might go the second one. I'm not sure.
I feel like if they were gonna do this, they should just make the first one the first movie and then just make a second one for the second if they were gonna do something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you guys seen
It's
The
a whole
Witcher
show.
on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
No,
Ooh,
I haven't
that's
played
one.
it even.
Oh, see, so I played through the games. The games were incredible, and that's one of those adaptations from like video games to TV shows. I'm in love with it so far. Like I can't wait for the next season because like it's one of those like you have to go into it understanding that like the story has massive time jumps. So
Like
it
you have
kind
to
of
know about the game.
yeah. So like well the big thing with the TV is like even if you haven't played the game, if you can at least grasp the concept that every time we're jumping in between characters, we're at three different timelines, it becomes easier to understand. But like it's one of those that I'm like, because it has three very distinct timelines, and they're successfully able to jump between the three and make it semi-coherent. Like I've been in love with it, and they're setting themselves up to where everybody combines in the second season. It's gonna be something
Oh,
else.
like Game of Thrones, like they're going like the Game of Thrones route.
Yeah, they honestly they kind of did, because it's showing three different people's stories all at the same time, and then the whole season is just a build up to where they actually do meet.
Oh,
And season one ends at them meeting, and then they'll go into season two. And so I'm excited for it. It's one of those the hype's built.
Yeah, what's it called again?
The Witcher.
The Witcher.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It also has the main actor from Superman is who they have
Yeah,
playing it.
I do believe that video game adaptations are finally becoming good because most of them suck, but they're like finally knowing how to make them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an untapped territory because once we get good at it, it'll be really big.
Yeah,
Oh
my
yeah,
big
because
thing.
also like the Uncharted movie is coming out soon.
The which movie?
The Uncharted movie.
Oh, I
Oh,
didn't.
I heard about that.
Tom Holland is playing Nathan Drake.
Dude,
Yeah,
he's like
that's why I
freaking.
heard about it. But yeah, the
And
other ones.
it's like coming rather soon.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember hearing about it, but I don't know when the actual release date's going to be. Especially with COVID. COVID
I
has
think it is.
officially pushed anything back to the point where I don't try and keep up.
Yeah.
I think it's like a young Nathan Drake.
A young Nate, like, see, that's cool though, because like I think I only played Uncharted 3. I think is the one I played. And yeah, it was just like the games. It's super cool, like because it's one of those I feel like it would translate over. But like my big thing is if you're gonna make a video game into a movie, I feel like it has to be one of those like story based games that actually have a genuinely good
Yeah,
story.
like Naughty Dog games.
Yeah.
I think Naughty Dog games will translate rather well to movies
There
Yeah,
was
did you guys?
because that's cinematic experience.
yeah. Have you guys seen there's another movie called oh, I watched it the other day, The Wandering Earth Project. It's
No,
Don't think
it's
I
a
have.
documentary. It's a documentary, right?
it's a Chinese movie and I don't know my dad like had it on his watch list the other day and we watched it and I don't know how he found out about it, but it seems like it would be a good movie to video game adaptation.
Oh, like
What's
the
the name?
opposite way.
Yeah. It's called The Wandering Earth Project. Basically, okay, so the premise is sounds it's pretty ridiculous, but once you kind of just get over it and accept that that's what's happening, it's good. But it's basically where yeah, well, they actually did some scientific research, so theoretically what they do is theoretically possible. But basically it's like Earth is going to die in like no, the sun's gonna explode in like 30 years because of global warming and just like all this stuff and blah blah blah. And like Earth, like there are tsunamis and just all this shit, and everyone's gonna die soon. So they decide to just build a bunch of like uh eh, um forgot the word, but like basically they just like move Earth out of the solar system to go find another star. Um so Okay, I'm not doing it justice,
No,
but
I
anyway.
kind of like that concept because it's
Yeah,
like
that sounds fucking balls.
yeah, instead of pulling like the 100 route where it's like we're gonna blast into space and then we'll come back to Earth, they're just like, nah, let's just move Earth.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
Like
dig that
Patrick
like
moving
mind frame.
Bikini Bottom.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's super cool. It's like everyone's living underground and it's like this really cool slightly cyberpunk aesthetic and the budget was crazy like the effects both like practical and like visual. It was really entertaining and honestly it was I really like the pacing and I do genuinely think it would be a really good video game premise, but
That's
you know,
awesome.
Sounds fucking crazy, but
yeah.
very good.
Yeah. I was trying to think because like the one like movie I wanted to see as a game was Avatar. Like not Last
Avatar.
Airbender, but like actual
Okay.
Avatar, blue aliens, giants. Like I would have loved to see that as a video game because I'm like, if you could set up that world building in like a video game, that's one of those games like Skyrim where like I would run around for hours, not even playing the game, but like just looking at the animations.
Just vibing.
Yeah, I always swim in open world games. I'm like, the quest, the narrative, screw that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go swim and collect carrots.
It's a lot in
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey. I just like go
Yeah.
around jumping places
Oh
in
my
Mario
god!
Odyssey.
Like, I'm playing Cyberpunk right now, and it's just I'm running around punching bad guys. Like that's all I'm
Wait,
doing.
is it? Are you like actually like being able to like play it well, or is it
Yeah, my
sucking for
laptop
you?
runs it fine. So that's like when I was laughing because everyone was saying they were having massive issues with it. Like my game, like Skyrim, runs worse for me. Like I run into more errors on Skyrim than I do Cyberpunk. Like
On a
as far as
laptop?
like, yeah, my laptop. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
because like literally, like with
Oh,
Skyrim,
shit.
like I get the bugs where I'm like stuck in rock walls, or I'll get stuck in like a staircase that I can't get out of, and like I think I've ran into stuff like that like twice on my like 50, 60 hours of gameplay, and so it's like, yeah, I haven't had any issues. I've had I think one time that I had to reset the game, that I was kind of bummed because I had forgotten to save before I ran into an issue.
Yeah.
But like even then, it was like I jumped back a mission and had to redo a mission. But yeah, like I haven't had any problems, and it runs graphic wise perfectly. Like it's clear, it looks nice.
Also, they like fuck the console version then.
Yeah, I think it was them trying to make it so that it worked on both, like Xbox One and the new Xbox coming out, and then trying to get it for PS4 and PS5. I think that's where they
Yeah.
kind of messed up with the console side of it. But yeah, on PC it works fine in my opinion.
Cool.
Mhm. But yeah, haven't done the main storyline whatsoever. I got out of the part where I could, because like the game, like the tutorial goes for like 5 missions, but once you're done with that, it's like open world, anything goes. And yeah, I've just straight side missions for days, and not even side missions, just every now and then you'll get these bad guys on the side of the street, and if you knock them out and don't kill them, the police give you a bounty. And so I just run around and kill people for bounties. Like,
Solid.
Sounds like a plan.
yeah. But we are running right about the end of the show, guys. So we should do some extra plugs. Carly, do you want to plug in your glass art too before we take
Oh
off
yeah.
here?
It with words or in the chat.
Both
Oh,
if you want
either
to.
way, you can say it in words just for when this goes up later on YouTube so they can see too.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, you go to spinflip.bigcartel.com. I make a bunch of reusable straws. And I'm also working on getting some other non-straw things up, like marble sets and pendants and like abstract sculpture. So that's a thing I do. And then again, Chzzy Fryz on Twitch and YouTube. I stream pretty much whatever on Twitch and YouTube. I have a couple of videos coming up. One is about um, I'm not doing it right now, but about how like good
Posture
posture
check.
and like all these other things can just like little things to help you take better care of yourself, and reviews and stuff like that. And yeah, Twitter Chzzy Fryz.
That's awesome. We appreciate it. And then I
Go
know
to her
I
chat.
actually.
You might meet a podcast,
Oh
like a
yeah,
podcast partner in your chat.
oh yeah. I also have a podcast called A Side of Fries. Currently,
Genius
it
name, by the
is.
way.
Thank you, thank you. And if there's anything where it's eventually, I'm going to curate like a playlist for people who like to catch up. I'm going to call it Catch Up,
Cool.
haha, because fries. Yeah, and so
Mhm.
that's currently only on Spotify, but I'm working on getting it
Should have
to.
gone with podcast though.
Actually, that one exists, so I'm glad. Side of Fries podcast is
The
already.
podcast is real. Like someone made a
Yeah,
podcast.
no, there's one called just Side of Fries, not A Side of Fries, and it's like two ex like retail workers talking. I mean, food whatever
Fast
workers
food
talking.
workers.
Yes, sorry, I'm
Oh,
so tired. But and they just talk about like all the weird stuff that happened to them in the food industry. But yeah, I'm A Side of Fries on Spotify, and it'll be coming to YouTube and like iTunes later.
Cool.
awesome. And then I
Awesome.
actually coattail in after that. I do actually have a live channel now up at DKaz05 on Twitch here. I only got one video up, and it's me getting killed mercilessly on League, so come laugh at me and how bad I am.
I already dropped you a follow.
Oh, much appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Podcast.
we appreciate everyone coming by. So they will be uploaded to YouTube. We're working on trying to figure out how to properly edit things now. So
Yeah,
once
we're
I get
working
that
through
figured
it.
out, we'll have clips uploading to YouTube. And we're shooting
Yeah.
for like 15 to 20-minute clips getting uploaded over there. And then you can catch us normally on Monday. Sorry that it went Tuesday this week, but shooting normally about Mondays around 6 to 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Around this time, but like on
Mhm.
Mondays.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys. This is cool. Thank you for having me again.
Appreciate it.
Well,
And thank you for being
coming.
here.
Yeah.
Yep. Pablo, anything you want to say before we close out?
Oh yeah, follow me on Twitter.
Yep. Pablo
What's your
Rhyme
name?
on Twitter.
I'm at ya boy Pablo U.
Oh, yes. That's what it is. Ooh, I just almost misplugged you.
No,
Would've
No
been great.
way.
but- all right, guys. We appreciate y'all for being here and have a great rest of your week until next time.
Bye, bye.